This topic. And even though our guest missed the train, I think we have probably echoed some of his thoughts and some of his...
He sends his apologies.
Yes, he does. And he's
coming. He's coming.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening. We've touched on so many things: employment, nation building. What does comedy do for you? But before we go, please follow us on our social media page at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, we're planning a giveaway just to say thank you for watching and believing in the Ways brand and following our conversation. So do also follow us on Instagram at PlusTvAfrica. Like, share, comment, just as Milola said, comment, and invite your friends and follow us.
Encourage us.
Yes, invite your friends and family to watch and follow us on Ways. And if you missed today's quote, here it is again. The duty of comedy is to correct men by amusing them, and that was by Morel. So until we see you next time where we bring another great conversation to your screen. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
15 more students of Bethel Baptist High School regained freedom 46 days after they were abducted. Parents say ransom was paid, but about 60 more are still in captivity.
Niger Delta youth voice opposition to Petroleum Industry Act, push for upward review of 3% equity share to host communities. We'll be finding out how the disagreement over the act can be best handled.
And a 22-year-old is detained for more than 60 days without trial on suspicion of being a spy for IPOB. A family claims they have been extorted by the police. Good morning and glad to have you here on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's another very beautiful Monday morning. I am Osaogi Obama.
And I am Aneta Felix. Good morning, welcoming you to a bright and beautiful Monday, the 23rd of August 2021. Osarige, good morning, especially to you.
We're both wearing blue and red this morning.
Aren't we?
Totally unplanned, but you know, looking really good.
Yes, so our top trending story today starts off, from the weekend. And in fact, we can even stretch this back all to 2015 with the whole controversy surrounding the Oluwawori. But bringing it back, closer, the timeline, we know that the coronation of the Oluwawori happened over the weekend. It was a very big celebration, widely celebrated across Nigeria, specifically in Delta State. And it was an event that attracted wide attention. And one of the reasons why there was such a buzz around it was the fact that people saw an Oluwawori that praised God in the Christian way, singing songs to God, and his speech that, made people say, this is a king that should, that people should notice. This is a king that people should definitely look up to. This is someone who seems like a role model. This is someone who seems intelligent, who knows what he wants, who is articulate. So all these great adjectives that people have used to describe him, and you really can see why when you listen to him speak. But the top trending story here is about respect for authority, because we saw Nigeria's former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, kneel down before the Oluwawori. That's a video of him there walking towards him. He approaches the king and he takes a knee. He kneels down and he taps him on the leg repeatedly. I mean, that video really has made the rounds, gone viral on social media, people making statements. People have criticized him for that. I really would not want to speak about his motives because people have said this and that about his motives. I really am not in his mind and I wouldn't be able to speak about that. But what I can comment based on what I've seen really is about the respect for the authority, the respect for the throne, regardless of who sits on it, regardless of age, regardless of personality, regardless of status. And that really is what the conversation is about.
Yeah, I'm not even sure why anybody's criticizing if they're, well, let me not say what I want to say. But I'm trying to figure out, what exactly there is to criticize there. If you don't have personal issues with Obasanjo or you don't have, problems at home. There's absolutely nothing, there to criticize. It makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, so the weekend was, so the whole of the coronation for me felt like, it felt like the best part of, I mean, how do I say this? It felt like for a very, very long time I had not really had that level of good feeling with regards to anything concerning Nigeria until this weekend. It was such a memorable occasion. It was such a beautiful occasion from the day that it started until the end. Every single detail of it, the tradition, the things that he had to, the rites that he had to also, pass through before he was eventually crowned king. His story, he's just 37 years old. How all of this came together, for this day. There's different angles, like you've mentioned, the part where, he's a Christian and he also worshipped, sang, some gospel songs, some, Christian songs, made some statements also. I hope that I will have time to quote. But it was just a very, very rich and beautiful event. And you can see from everybody whose attention was focused on Warri over the weekend that it was celebration all through. There was nothing else but people just being entirely excited about what was happening on that day. Politically, it was a weekend where Nigeria's political elite had to choose between Kano and Warri. For those who had to go to Kano and those
For the
who
wedding of the
decided to come to,
president's son.
exactly. And I was saying it to myself yesterday that you can never place both on the same level of importance. One of them is a wedding. The other one is the coronation of a traditional ruler in Nigeria. And for those who made a decision of which to go to, you can really almost tell what their interests are with regards to Nigeria's journey forward. And so when you see the video of Obasanjo going down to kneel, it really has told you what his own interest is in the bigger picture. Going for a wedding to go shake hands and, you're not the MC, neither are you, serving drinks at the wedding. And so, it's also very, very important that you basically state, where your political interests really, really lie. Kneeling before the king also told the story of a person who understands political power, but still also understands traditional power, and where, and understands, that there is a balance between both, and knows that no matter how much of a political warlord you are, you should still understand and, respect the power of the next person. And that's what Obasanjo really showed here. It wasn't necessarily kneeling before the man himself, was kneeling before the throne. But of course, it's that 37-year-old man who currently sits on that throne. And so it was respect to that traditional authority that it really showed. And I posted on my Instagram and I said that this is, for me, was one of the best pictures from the whole of the weekend. And maybe one of the best pictures we've seen in 2021, out of anything concerning Nigeria. There was other things that happened over the weekend. There were people who were killed, people who were abducted. There was so much else that went on. There was a wedding in Kano. But most importantly, there was a very, very beautiful, rich traditional culture coronation that took place in Warri. One of the things that he said, I quote him, he says, "I bring down the government of heaven into this land." I'm talking about the Olu now. He also spoke about uniting the Ishekiri people and the youths across the whole of the Niger Delta. He spoke also about, he reversed the curse that was placed by, the Olu of Warri many hundreds of years ago. He also spoke, conferred titles on his mom and his wife. There was so much, and you can see it from his composure, the way he carried himself, that this really was not just some riffraff that they threw into that position. He was ready for it. Able to hold the power that really comes with being the Olu of Warri. It was too beautiful. There were so many other traditional. The Oni of Ife was also present, I believe. There were also people from the Oba of Benin's palace. I didn't get to see the Oba of Benin there, but I saw people from his palace also there. There's nothing, really more to say, concerning this, but it was a truly beautiful weekend for me.
Yes, and after that event, there was an interview he granted to the BBC in which he really detailed his life and journey up until that moment, talking about how he looked up to his father and, just watched, So some questions he was asked, bordered around if he was trained for this, if he was groomed for this, nurtured to be Olu one day. And he said it wasn't per se like an institutional thing where there were people who would point this out and guide you. I mean, that was your role to do that. He said no, that what happened in his own case was that he was able to observe what was happening and he caught things, especially from his father. And that there would definitely be a traditional ruler who would say, I hope you're taking note of this. I hope you're observing that. And he was able to, tune himself to the events of the palace and watch closely to learn. He also mentioned that he wasn't Olu of Warri to wear the crown, sit on the throne and look pretty. That he was there really to market Ishakiri before a board of business leaders, political leaders, and to really milk the resources of the monarchy. That there's a lot of resources that can be generated, from that, and that he was looking to make Warri sovereign in a way, in the sense of, just making sure that all the resources that can be generated from Ishakiri, from the Niger Delta, is generated and that the people get to benefit from it. So lots of prospects for this Olu. Yeah. And I can't wait to really see what Warri becomes, what Delta State becomes with this new king as head.
He also mentioned that the riches from the Niger Delta is not just oil, and they need to stop focusing on just oil. They have a lot of young people. There's so
human
many
resources is always the priority.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So he mentioned that he also, of course, spoke about peace, spoke about uniting, other parts of the Niger Delta, and moving forward. So. Political elite, once again, I would never fail to mention that part, made a decision this weekend, and you can really just tell who went where and, what their interests really are with regards, where Nigeria is.
If it's regarding that, I really wouldn't condemn anybody for choosing. I mean, that's their choice. But the issue is the coronation happened, and it was a beautiful event to watch.
Absolutely.
Let's now go to Kaduna. Our next two top trending stories are from Kaduna. The first is a good news. The second is not so great. Let's begin with the good news. We know that students of Baptist High School in Kaduna were abducted, and 15 of them have, regained freedom. When we saw pictures from that press conference in Kaduna, it really was a very heartbreaking one, because even though we're happy to see these kids, back and alive, you can tell how weak they are, how malnourished they are, how shaken they are. I mean, look at that girl. Look at that boy. He had to, lean on the support of family and friends to even stand. I mean, it's just so sad looking at the faces of these people, the horrors they must have gone through. I mean, but the good thing is they're back to their family. They're back home, back to receive love. You see the parents there praying, giving thanks to God, for seeing their kids alive. And questions were asked to the school, the Baptist High School in Kaduna, if 50 million naira was paid as ransom, because there were reports about, the bandits making demands of 50 million naira. But the school denied comments, or declined comments. And we know that 63 more students are in captivity. So hopefully those other students also reunite with their family.
For me, this wasn't the worst thing that happened over the weekend. There were still killings in Kaduna. There were still, of course, we're going to mention that. There were still abductions. There were still killings in Plateau State, which, of course, have continued for weeks now. This, for me, and of course, is pretty much the same thing with every other person who sees a story like this. Everybody is disconnected from kidnappings. Everybody emotionally has disconnected themselves. These things don't bring, the sadness that, they probably would bring a couple of years ago, because it happened so many times, and we've seen pretty much the same reaction from the government. I want you to look at those parents and just bear in mind that a couple of those parents, maybe all of them, have run into serious debt if they truly had to pay ransom. They've had to source funds.
And about ransom, yes. During that press conference, the family, the parents, especially the school, declined comments regarding the paid ransom. But yet that reminds me that on Plus TV's show yesterday on our news, they actually confirmed that they paid ransom. We don't know how much yet, but for them to have paid ransom, it just goes on to tell us what we already know, that definitely these family members would have contributed money together, like you mentioned, probably running into debt, selling farmlands and property just to make sure that their kids are back.
I'm also going to link this with some of the statements that were made, which were both, they are very, very similar occasions. During when the Chibok kidnapping happened, there was a lot of people who criticized former President Goodluck Jonathan for going for a wedding. I'm not sure what wedding he went for that weekend. Pretty much the same thing has happened this weekend. Somebody's son got, married. That could have happened in a very, very small way, but of course they did it the big way. And while people are languishing in the kidnappers' den that have been there for 60 days, 46 days, some of them even more, parents are struggling to pay ransom, there's a wedding. And you can see everybody going there to celebrate with Mayoko and partying, the weekend away, while people were in kidnappers' den. I'm not sure which other way, to describe Nigeria for today, but just to really just show you what exactly we've had to deal with this weekend. So for me, yes, celebrate with those parents, 15 of them who have gotten back. There's still 60 plus still in captivity. The Kaduna State government still says that they don't know where they are or they can't rescue them. Then I'm not sure what else that we can possibly do. But good luck to those who are still there. We hope that they also come back home soon.
And while we're getting news of 15 students being released from captivity in Kaduna State, still in Kaduna State, the Commissioner for Internal Security, Samuel Arwan, confirmed yesterday that 9 people were killed after a fresh bandit attack in Kaduna. This occurred in the Zangon Kataf local government area of the state. And when I read through the list of people who died, I was so sad because I saw 3 people who were members of the same family. They had the same surname. 2 other people who were the same members of the family, and then other people. Just a terrible event here. The story, and according to Samuel Arwan, we didn't know exactly what happened, what triggered that attack, what exactly were the details surrounding that attack. But we know that the bandits attacked this village in Zango Kataf local government area in Kaduna State. And the usual response from the government we saw, quote, Acting Governor Dr. Hadiza Balarabi received the report with sadness, condemned this recent spate of attacks in the area, prayed for the repose of the soul of the deceased, sent condolences to the families. Day in, day out, it's the typical copy-paste response we get from the government. And you really wonder, what about proactivity? Rather than sending condolence messages every other weekend. But that really...
I'm pretty sure by now they have it already typed out. They just need to change the dates and change, the names here and there, or names of local governments. They already have that condolence message in a format, because they've given it out, shared it so many times, there's no need to, type a new one next week. And about what triggered it, I would say that what triggered it really is the failure of the Nigerian government over the years to punish these persons, to catch these persons and punish them, send them to prison if possible for these crimes. That's really what has triggered this, because Samuel Arwan, saying he's not sure what triggered this. There's been what triggered the one that happened 2 months ago. What triggered the one that happened 3 weeks ago? There's been so many of them that you cannot figure out what triggered. But as long as we continue to live in a place where the government fails to catch these people, the government fails to completely destabilize these bandits, then nothing needs to trigger them aside the fact that government has failed to prosecute them. And if we continue to have these conversations about forgiving repentant terrorists, then there will continue to be these triggers, and people will continue to lose their lives. It's a sad reality, but there's really no other way to explain these things. What exactly would you say triggers people moving into a village and killing dozens of people? I'm just going away. That's it. That case closed. What explanation would anybody need for that? Aside the fact that these people aren't caught, their leaders aren't arrested. We remember the one, about a month ago, we spoke about the one who was boasting about killing Nigerian soldiers. We still haven't heard that person is on the DSS or any wanted list across Nigeria and has been found, has been captured, and will be prosecuted. We haven't heard anything like that. And that's maybe the end of that case. Hopefully it's not. But that's the trigger for me. The fact that they know that they would continue to carry out these crimes without any actual response from the government. Nothing really to be afraid of from the government. Some state governors are asking their residents to defend themselves. Man. It's a sad way to start up a Monday morning, but these are conversations that must be had, and we would not ignore these things because we want to have a bright and beautiful Monday.
And just
because
why
it's bright and beautiful for us here, but it's not the same thing for those people in Kaduna or in Jos and in other places that have been, dealt heavy blows of, with the banditry and the abductions and whatnot. And those parents who have had to have their children in kidnappers' den for 60 days in the forest, someplace, while negotiating, while sending foodstuff, while finding ways to get their children back. It's really not a happy Monday morning for them either. So these are just conversations that must be had. But welcome to the breakfast once again.
Yes, and just while you think those stories are shocking, wait till you see the stories making headlines in the papers today that are not so shocking anymore, surprisingly. And we'll take a break here and we'll be right back. Good morning.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. NIMASA bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
Welcome back. It's now time for Off the Press. Let's invite our guest, Mr. Tunde Kolawole, a public affairs analyst. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, my sister. How was your weekend?
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's go straight to the Punch newspapers. Headline says, Government 4.8 billion naira pledge. Federal government can't be trusted, says National Association of Resident Doctors. We negotiated with NMA. Minister insists. NARD says we can't go back to our members with empty promises. Pay first. Ngige tells doctors, we didn't hold talks with you. Your matter is in court. Above the headlines in the Punch, Nigerians in diaspora remit $65.34 billion in 3 years. CBN says food imports gulped $1.04 billion in 6 months. Grazing reserves, autumn threatens legal action against Buhari. Bread price hike looms as bakers decry flour cost. Fuel price remains until federal government labor end negotiations, says PPPRA. Juhesu says Buhari's son's wedding, other large gatherings can fuel COVID-19 infections. Below the headlines on the Punch newspaper, we see pictures of former President Olusegun Obasanjo taking a knee before the Olu of Warri, and more pictures from that coronation ceremony. And it says, Atuwase the Third Ascension, new dawn for Ishekiri. That's according to Obasanjo. Catholic clerics should not endorse political leaders, Bishop warns. Wanted drug dealer arrested in Lagos church. Man excretes heroin. Vehicle conveying Delta wedding guest. Somersault, 7 die. Ex-herbalist allegedly hypnotizes Lagos teenager. Victim recovers in Ondo State. COVID-19, Ogun lecturer tackles Lagos over the tension. Government threatens prosecution. Lastly, on the Punch newspaper, Kaduna Baptist School abductors promise to release all abductees free 15.
Now moving on to the Daily Sun newspapers. Big one you can see on your screen says grazing routes, autumn blows hot, plans to sue Buhari. Group drags president and others to court over failure to investigate missing 106 billion naira in 149 MDAs. We can also find, of course, once again, the picture of Obasanjo and the Olu of Warri. 2023, Ohaneze insists parties must zone presidency to southeast. Plateau killings, Ipazu orders evacuation of Abia students. IPOB accuses security operatives of plot to disguise as ESN to enforce sit at home. And joy, tears as 15 abducted Baptist students regain freedom. Again, bandits slaughter 12 in Katsina community. 9 bodies recovered as gunmen killed 3 in reprisal attacks in Kaduna. Self-defense, Masari defends stance, dismisses call for resignation. And of course, FAAN in 140 billion naira financial mess owes staff, pensioners, contractors. Those are the stories on the Daily Sun.
Let's go to the Guardian newspaper. The headline reads, Autumn Ohaneze filing a kick over known grazing routes. Benue governor threatens legal action against Buhari. Ranching, federal government should allocate 6.5 to 6.25 billion naira to other states. That's according to Falana. Yoruba groups analysts say federal government's move an invitation to war and anarchy. Farmers say federal government should procure land for all, not only herders. Why CBN's $50 billion intervention fails to rally confidence in stock market. Gunmen killed 12 persons in fresh Katsina attack. 500 COVID-19 deaths recorded at Lagos Isolation Center. Why we oppose Obiano's proposed 60 billion naira supplementary budget by ZLP. Lastly, on The Guardian, Gumi tells politicians that they're milking Nigerians.
And now to the Daily Trust. PDP crisis. Anxiety as Secondus rejects October deadline. Aircraft handling, federal government operators lose $28 million yearly. Taraba, Fulani leaders hand over 11 kidnappers and gun runners to police. Doctors in mass exodus amidst NARD strike. It says less than 40,000 doctors, 200 million Nigerians. Federal government should develop emergency intervention, says the NMA. We can also see here, bandits release 15 more students of Bethel Baptist. Plateau unrest, just Muslim communities to protect churches. And Buhari's son's wedding, Gumi blasts politicians who flew jets to Bichi. Good morning, Mr. Tunde Kolawole. Thanks for joining us once again.
Good morning, my brother.
All right. We probably can start with the story on the release of the Bethel, 15 more Bethel Baptist school kids. It's celebration for those parents, but it still says about 60 plus are still in captivity. Quickly also, react to that, please.
Well, I want to rejoice with the parents of the Baptist school students that have been released. I also rejoice with the state government. all parents who will see this on the pages of the newspaper this morning will be glad to receive it. Thank God the girls are back home. But no one is still comfortable that children will be adopted within the confines of Nigeria and they will stay that long in the kidnappers' den. We aren't doing enough to safeguard the safety of our children. And it is the future of the Nigerian nation that is at stake now. When children are scared, when they cannot go freely to school and have the peace of mind to do their studies and all that, how will we be able to produce the leaders of tomorrow? And related to that story, there is also another one in there which says that some other school children have equally been kidnapped. I think about 12 of them, or about 12 of them somewhere else. So as the bandits are releasing some students, they are also kidnapping new ones. And why is it so? It is because we probably as a nation, we probably think that the security people are not doing enough. I have always said there should be layers upon layers of security around students when they are in school. There are also technologies all over the world now to be able to locate some points where these children might be kept by the bandits when they are abducted. And there are all sorts of tranquilizers, neutralizers like stun grenades that can be thrown into the kidnappers' den, and everybody goes in there to sleep, and then the security will go and evacuate the children and arrest the bandits wherever they may be. But nobody appears to be thinking in this direction, and it is very, very sad. More importantly, the policy of rewarding, of rehabilitating kidnappers and bandits and empowering them and paying huge sums of huge ransom each time they abduct people also seems to be fueling this. If we are going to be paying kidnappers and bandits in the northern part of the country, what moral justification do we have as a nation to continue to prosecute Evans, who is standing trial here in Lagos for kidnapping people for ransom? Is what is good for goose not equally good for gander? The public should also have released Evans, rehabilitate him, and ask him to go home and sin no more. So these are very, very puzzling and troubling issues that we as a nation require to really address. We have no moral justification whatsoever, like I said, to continue to try Evans, to continue to try some of the boys in IPOP, and some other people who may have alleged who are standing trial for kidnapping and banditry in the southern part of the country. We should have equal policy, the same measure for whoever may be engaged in this kind of heinous crime.
All right, Mr. Kolawole, I want us to take a look at the story that has made the headlines across the papers about grazing routes. And it says, autumn blows hot, plans to sue Buhari. Also, we see it on the Guardian newspaper. Falana as well as Ohanes Ndigbo is kicking over this. Now, we know that this grazing routes discussion came up, quite a while ago. And despite the fact that the southern governors have said that they are against this and that starting September 1st, they will ban open grazing in their states, the president seemed to want to go ahead to revive grazing routes in the country. But now Autumn is taking this to court. So what do you foresee to be the outcome of this if this eventually goes to court?
Yeah, thank you. This is a very, very interesting story, and your question a very beautiful one. Let me say outrightly that you and I will know that there is no love lost between Governor Autumn and the President Muhammadu Buhari. When the killings in Benue State first started, you will recollect that the president said he was going to send Inspector General of Police to Benue State to unravel what is happening there and bring the situation under control. But right under the president's nose, the IG of police refused to go to Benue State to do anything. And the president didn't apply any sanction against the IG of police. For me, I smell a rat in there It must be that the president in the first instance never wanted the IG of police to go in there. It could also be that the president was just playing to the gallery. It could also be that somebody is enjoying what is happening to the people in Benue State, wanting to punish them for the intransigency of their governor, who has always insisted on the rights of his people. As for what I'm going to court, I'm not too sure that much is going to come out of there. Why do I say this? I say this because we have the executive arm of government, the presidency, the Attorney General of the Federation, the Department of State Security Service, the Nigerian police, who have no respect whatsoever for the rule of law and who have always flagrantly disobeyed court orders. So when you take them to court and all that, yeah, it is good to take them to court at least to be on record as civilized people. That rather than engage in self-help, you as a governor, you as people of any state, you went to court to seek redress for your rights that are being violated. Such that when in future you have responsible people in government, people who have respect for the rule of law, people who obey court orders, then you can always invoke whatever orders you get in court for compensation, or at least to bring to book those who have flagrantly disobeyed court orders when one was done with respect to this grazing route. As to the southern governors and what have you, well, they are just merely hitting their heads against the wall, to the extent that even though they are described by the chief security officers of their state, do they really have the quasi power? Do they have the security forces, the police, the army, the navy, and all that, to defend and enforce whatever security they want to enforce in their respective states? The answer is no. No governor can give an order to a commissioner of police to carry out any security activity within the confines of his state, and then the commissioner of police will obey. Rather, the commissioner of police will first call Abuja, call the IG of police to inform him and to ask for permission to carry out whatever order the governor may have given. And then the IG will call the president, who solely appoints the Inspector General of Police, even though that is not what the Constitution prescribes. It is the Police Service Commission and Council that should appoint, that should certainly appoint Inspector General of Police. So, to the extent that the governor don't have the quasi power to enforce the ban on open grazing that law that they have all enacted, makes the law just redundant and something that can only be enforced when in future they probably will have a state police that they can send into the forest and all that to ensure that this new grazing, that this ban on open grazing in southern parts of Nigeria could be enforced. I'm not also sure that Amotekun that they do have, or the Eastern Nigeria Security Network, or Ebube as it is in the East, can enforce the no open grazing in the southern parts of the country. The massive quasi power that is in the hand of the federal government will be used to frustrate and also to ensure that they don't enforce the open grazing rule. As to the presidency that is being insisting on open grazing, I would want to say that they are the worst enemies of the Fulani people, of the open grazing people that we do have in the country. When you have those so-called open grazing routes before independence and all that, the population of Nigeria wasn't this big. The desert has not encroached to most of the places it has encroached to today. And furthermore, scientific means of the animal husbandry hasn't developed to the level in which it has developed now. So if anybody loves the Fulani, what that kind of a person will be doing is to encourage them to engage or embark on ranch agriculture, so that the animals can be better fed and produce more meat and more milk and more skins for production of shoes, belts, and what have you. And also for the Fulani children to be able to go to school and then live a decent and normal life that the children of other tribes and clans in Nigeria are living. More importantly, this directive of Mr. President of the presidency is in sharp contradiction to what he had gone to Katsina to do. The same president has released, I think, about 6 billion naira to the government of Katsina State to start developing rank agriculture in Katsina State. So if he has done that, why would the same government now be insisting on open grazing in some other parts of the country when you are already putting that money to develop rank agriculture in Katsina State? Right. Like we used to say, what is good for the goose will equally be good for Ghana. What the presidency should have done, if they love the Fulani person, and if they want peace throughout the length and breadth of Nigeria, is to equally make the same resources available to all the states of the federation so that they can begin to develop rank agriculture. There is no future in open grazing, either for the Fulani or for the Nigerian nation.
All right. You can also quickly share your thoughts on the events in Warri over the weekend with the coronation of the new Olu of Warri. It was, of course, a weekend-long event.
Hello, my brother. Louder.
Oh, I'm asking, if you can also share your thoughts on the coronation of the Olu of Warri. It also makes the papers this morning.
Oh, fantastic. I am not a fan of the monarchy. The reason why I'm not a fan of the monarchy is simply because I detest a situation in which somebody would just by mere accident of birth become a leader and begin to preside over their people. I would rather think that it is individuals' intellectual capacity, their contribution to the society, their understanding of management practices and culture that should determine who becomes a culture. But since that institution have not been scrapped, and then since they also draw their salaries and emoluments from the taxpayers' money, we continue to tolerate them as it were until probably the institution is scrapped. Because even in Britain, as we are today, where you have the Queen and all that, a lot of people are agitating that institution should be scrapped, that it is a kind of parasite on the taxpayers. And they are no longer relevant, they are no longer contributing anything to the society. Now that society is feeding a moribund institution that doesn't have any place in a democracy. For the young man, I congratulate him at the age of 37. He's become the Olu of Warri. And the throne of the Olu of Warri is a very, very important throne. It's an old age throne that is very, very prestigious. The young man is well educated, and all manners of stumbling blocks have been placed on his path before now, such that he probably would have been the Olu of Warri some 6 years ago. But certain people came up with a traditional policy that since his mother is not from Benin or from Warri, the constitution frowns at him becoming the Olu of Warri. And because of that, his uncle, Emiko, was made the Olu of Warri until the man passed away recently due to COVID-19. The constitution of Nigeria frowns at discrimination on the basis of birth, on the basis of religion, on the basis of ethnicity. So it is repugnant to natural justice to say because a man's mother is not from Benin or from certain places, then he is not entitled to certain things. That is not the grain of our law. That is not the spirit and letters of the Nigerian constitution. Now that the sanity has prevailed, I congratulate the Olu of Warri and wish him the best of luck throughout his time of stewardship. I also want to remind him that there has always been a bond between the Yoruba people and the Shekiri people because they are cousins. But the president of Warri's father never understood that. He severed all the relationship that used to exist between the Yoruba and the Shekiri for reasons best known to him. And I am saying that the relationship between the Yorubas and the Shekiri is a symbiotic relationship. They are both cousins, the Yorubas and the Shekiri people. And when you also look at the Shekiri people and the Yoruba people, so many Shekiri leaders, like Alfred Ruwane, and so many of them, have used their resources to promote Yoruba cause. Some of them, like Alfred Ruwane, also sacrificed his life to promote Yoruba cause. Alfred Ruwane was killed because of his struggle to get the election of MK Abiola as the president revalidated. Alfred Ruwane, throughout his life, put his resources behind the Yoruba people, behind Chief Offensive Awolowo to realize his political ambition.
All right, Mr. Kolawole.
And look forward to the new Olu of Wari strengthening the relationship between the Yorubas and the Shekiri people, because the Shekiri people are an endangered species, very small tribe. When shops becomes pushing, they might need a larger tribe like the Yorubas to protect their interests.
All right. Mr. Kolawole, let's finally take a look at the big story on the Punch. And it's about the federal government versus the National Association of Resident Doctors. Now, we know that this matter, the federal government took it to the industrial court, but President Muhammadu Buhari actually ordered on Friday that, negotiations should continue. And according to the story, more negotiations are supposed to continue today, and that there should be another memorandum of understanding signed today. But now it is saying that they're tired of signing MOUs, that they've signed MOUs, MOAs, you name it, and that what they need now is for the government to begin to pay, and they do not want any more promise. But we see the minister here saying that they're not negotiating with NARD, that they're negotiating with the Nigerian Medical Association. So I don't know how you see this matter here, where the NMA, rather, the NARD is refusing to sign any more MOUs, saying that the federal government cannot be trusted, while Ngige here is saying that all negotiations that they would do would be with the NMA, and that the NMA can go ahead and dialogue with the NARD.
What is happening in the health sector is a monumental tragedy. It is not what should be happening in this era of a pandemic when people are dying like flies all over the place. What is really the difference between NARD and the NMA? Are they not the same branch of the same medical people? The NAMRA are just the resident doctors. Why the NARDs are the resident doctors who are in training? Why the medical doctors is just the umbrella body? So for Mr. Ngige to be saying that they didn't negotiate with NARD, but only the MA, it doesn't make sense to me. The minister is just playing on semantics, or is just being clever by half. The truth of the matter is that our health sector, like the educational sector, like the infrastructure sector, are not being properly funded, and we require to fund these places the way they should be funded. If we have done the needful since the beginning, the medical tourism that we see Mr. President do periodically, that his son also embarked upon when he had an accident, and that the wife also does regularly another, wouldn't have been there. And this government has been in power now for about 6 years, and within the last 6 years, they have not been able to put in place a decent, a well-equipped and well-staffed medical institutions anywhere in the country. It wouldn't be too much by now if we have at least about 6 well-equipped, well-staffed, well-trained, and beautiful infrastructure in 6 geopolitical zones where people can go in there and receive treatment. But I think the government is not committed to that project. My advice to the NARD and the NMA and all those who work in the medical sector will be like my advice to the university teachers. And look, let us all of us concentrate on good governance. There is no aspect of our life that is properly funded. The NMA, the NLD, the ASU people cannot live as an oasis of comfort in a society in which there are people, in which every other sector is in a deplorable condition. If we all team up together and fight for good governance, and we put good people in government and all that, there will be a better and more rational allocation of resources and all sectors of our life, whether it be education, whether it be the health sector, whether it be infrastructure, whether it be in even security and all that, will be properly funded. It is utopia for the doctors, whether they be NMA, NLC. It is utopia for the academic people to think that they can have well-funded hospitals, well-funded universities, well-funded infrastructure when there are no good people in government. It's impossible. It's utopia. So that is the direction in which this society should be moving. And not for us to start creating an oasis of influence, an oasis of wealth, an oasis of a better pay or differential pay structure for certain persons. It doesn't work that way. We have tried it in the justice system, in which judges and registrars are being paid specialized salaries. We thought if we pay them good salaries and all that will stop corruption. And then our hospitals, our courts will start running smoothly. There won't be too many backlog of cases. But as that happened, has it stopped corruption in the justice system? Are the courts working smoothly and efficiently the way they should work? Is the diary of the Supreme Court not freed up to the year 2023? So this is the reality. Let all professionals in this society come together and fight for good governance, especially now that 2023 is around the corner. And they should start living this life of utopia that will carry them nowhere.
All right, Mr. Kolawole, we will wrap up the conversation here. Thank you very much for starting our Monday with us.
Thank
you.
We
wish you a very interesting week ahead.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So it's a pleasure speaking with both of you.
Thank you.
All right. Stay with us. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be looking deeper at the Petroleum Industry Act and the controversy surrounding it. Reactions from the Niger Delta mostly, and we'll be joined by two very, very interesting persons to share their thoughts on the recent developments. Stay with us on The Breakfast.
There is no drawing the line. The cancel culture is wrong. Call out is better.
General public perceives it as His Excellency, Her Excellency. What have you done that is excellent?
Yes. We've been so battered over the years that we've lost our sense of demanding for our rights.
Where you see young girls come out to say, I was raped, there's this attack, this silent attack. Some people would like to keep quiet, but you hear some people come out to say, are you sure?
Did you ask yourself, on the average, how many people will come to this place? Did you ask yourself, when they get there, what is the process for accreditation? You're trying to give money to what? 5,000 people, 200,000 people, you don't even know.
These guys are going to pilfer these funds and justify it with this fruitless exercise. It's very annoying to see that even despite all the criticism for this conditional cash transfer, schemes, Nigeria has continued to do worse, on the poverty index.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let everybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Welcome back to The Breakfast on PlusTvAfrica. Our first major conversation this morning moves to the Niger Delta with regards to the Petroleum Industry Act. Of course, Nigerian security agencies have threatened, of course, to do what is necessary to maintain law and order. And that is after a group of Niger Delta militants, I guess, have also put out statements, saying that there would be chaos in the Niger Delta with their disagreements concerning the Petroleum Industry Act. This morning we're speaking with Uzoma Nkemabonta as a member House of Representatives in Abia. We're also going to be joined by another guest in just a few seconds. Well, starting with Mr. Nkemabonta, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, viewers.
Thanks for joining us. I want you to also start with your own analysis on the Petroleum Industry Act. There's those who completely see this as fraudulent and say the president shouldn't have gone on to assent to it. And then there's also those who say that it's really just misunderstood. So let's get your views on the act itself. What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you very much. I will want to say that the act could be said to be the beginning of a good thing. I of the government find into law.
All right. Yeah, we're having some struggle with misconnection, so we're going to have to reconnect with Mr. Uzoma Nkemabonta. He's a member representing a member in the House of Representatives in Abia State, and the conversation mostly is on the Petroleum Industry Act. Militants have threatened to go on with chaos in the Niger Delta. Because they completely disagree with the act, and we hope that we can have a better conversation this morning on the little details here and there that may be causing this chaos. We're also meant to be joined by Mujahid Asari Dokubo, a former leader of the Movement for the Emancipation of the Niger Delta. As we try to reconnect with them, it's a lot of drama, and I also have done, I'm sure you also have, looked at those little details concerning the 30%. And the 3%, and the way that it has been, some people would say misunderstood and interpreted as 30% going to the north, while 3% is going to the south. When you say it that way, it obviously already sounds a little fraudulent, but, there's also been people who have gone to look closer at it and gotten to, put up points that show that it may not be exactly the way it has been painted.
Yes, and that's exactly what I would like to explain. Now, with the PIA, first of all, it was a widely celebrated event. The fact that the president gave his assent to a bill that has gathered dust for about 20 years. So yes, people said, oh, fantastic, good one that the president went ahead to sign this into law. Now, the controversy really became, or rather came around when we started to see the reaction of leaders in Niger Delta to this. And we saw people say, just like you mentioned, groups in the Niger Delta threaten that they will begin to destroy oil installations in the Niger Delta on the basis that, and on the basis of the understanding of the PIA, which is according to them, that you're taking money from the south and giving it to the north, or taking money that, generated from oil and all of that to develop frontier basins and oil exploration. So when they see, 30% going to the north, they freak out, and 3% going to Niger Delta communities, they're saying, this feels like, you're cheating us. This just seems, unfair. But, recent, publications that we've seen that really went ahead in detail to break this down tries to give a different, understanding and perspective to the PIA. And according to what we've seen, I'm going to read out quotes, from this publication. It said that the 3%, or it went on to explain that the 3%, that is going to host communities is from the operational expenditure of oil companies, as the OPEX of oil companies. So this 3% we're talking about is from the operational expenditure of oil companies. But the 30% that is going to frontier bases will be set aside by the NNPC from its profit oil and profit gas.
Yes.
So I think that's the first distinction we have to make, that the source of these 3% and 30% are different. It's not 30% of this particular, pool of money that we have. We're taking 30% of this whole money to the north for oil exploration and giving just 3% to the south. No, it's the fact that the 3% is generated from the operational expenditure of oil companies, which is a lot. And they went on to do, rough calculations to say this would be about let's get that exact detail, about $200 billion. Yes.
Naira.
So an estimate is going to be about 200 billion, right? That's from the 3% from operational expenditure. But the 30% of profit oil and profit gas would now be
about just 60 billion, because like I mentioned, the source of both fund is not the same. So that's the first distinction that they've tried to make, that the origin of this is basically ignorance, that, people have not been able to have a grasp on the facts of this matter. So it went on to say that people saying this money is just going to the north, and that before the PIA, the Fund for Exploration had just been in the Chad Basin, but the PIA expands this bracket to also include other states in Nigeria that are not even from the north, states like Anambra and Benue, so that people should also be happy to see that not just the north, but that money would also be invested into other states like Anambra and Benue to search for oil.
Other frontier basins.
Exactly, other frontier basins. There's the Sokoto, there's the Benue, there's the Anambra, there's Ebonyi, there's Benue, there's Lagos, there's Taraba, there's Ondo, there's Ogun. So from my understanding, right, not everybody in the Niger Delta might have access to this information or go ahead to read it in detail. But that's why you have the federal government and the National Orientation Agency that we keep talking about. They are supposed to explain these things for the common man to understand. Don't you agree with me? They're supposed to break this down, because when people keep talking about where's the NOA, this is what they're supposed to do. Yeah. They're supposed to, if you're bringing up a new law, yes, we know that you're supposed to bring every stakeholder on board to make them understand, what it is and bring in their opinion as well. But there also has to be that point where you explain to people, because people misunderstand this thing. They see 30%, oh, I'm being cheated, 3%, oh, you're being unfair to me. But if the government, why do we have a Minister of Information? Why do we have a National Orientation Agency? It is their job to be able to explain this to the common man, so they don't run with the information that, oh, they are being cheated or being unfairly treated. But that's the reason why we're discussing this on the breakfast today.
Absolutely. We're going to once again speak with our guest, Uzoma Nkemabonta. Can you hear us now, sir? Mr. Nkemabonta, can you hear us?
I can hear us clearly.
Okay.
Welcome back.
The sound is better now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, like I was trying to say, the Act itself now fails to satisfy the yearning of certain persons and seems to have got some sections unduly. Yes, we have a Petroleum Act that is comprehensive, that has unbundled the NNPC and all what we. But if you look at the sharing now, you see that the Niger Delta has been grossly substandard. How can you take 30% of whatever emerging profits or otherwise to begin to prospect for oil when we already found oil where people are suffering? You now give them salary 3%. We were told during the discussions that oil will soon be something that is not useful again. Therefore, we need to mine all the oil we have and sell. If that is true, then why not finish the mine of the ones we've seen already that is commercially valued than going to prospect elsewhere? So the totality of the bill still leaves the oil production areas still struggling, still spectators in the industry and not partakers. However, I think that having gotten an act now, we should also begin to press for an amendment and dialogue over it. But as presently signed by Mr. President, it's not changing the South and oil producing areas, which is not fair enough. It's not.
Mr. Nkemabonta, there is some analysts that have pointed out that the 3% that is being projected for oil communities may even be way higher than this 30%, that is being stated for frontier states, because they are not gotten from the same source. The 3% is coming from oil licenses, and of course oil exploration licenses from the oil companies going to be that are going to be in the Niger Delta. But the 30% is from profit oil and profit gas, which really sometimes is really not so much money.
I do not think that this calculation is correct. If they think it's correct, why would they not put it out first? Can they tell us the earnings from oil Can they be clear and transparent enough to tell us from the existing record what has been gotten in all this? They cannot. This is just what they are trying to teach now, to propagate now, to cushion state now. I do not think so. It's a mathematics. There's no way 30% will be less compared to 3%. Even if you look at it from the gross profit, from which mathematics you do, it is short-changing. It's not correct. So let them put all the figures out there in the public domain so we can also look at it critically.
Okay, Mr. Abonta, I understand what you said and where you're coming from regarding, if 30% is really lesser than the 3%, then why is the federal government not putting the information out there? That's on the back of what I mentioned, that, the federal government really does need to do a lot of enlightenment, regarding the facts of this matter. But according to, the PIA, this 30%, I want us to be able to make that distinction, Mr. Abonta, if you can hear me clearly. According to what we know with the PIA, the 30%, first of all, is not going to any community. That means no community would receive cash to say, this is what we're giving you. Unlike what's happening with the host communities, that the host communities are actually receiving this funds, to develop their area, right? So that's the first difference. So it's not as though monies are being given to, communities in the northern part of Nigeria. They're not getting this money. The money is just, to explore different parts of the country for oil. And it's not just the north. It's also Lagos, it's Ogun, it's Ondo, it's Sokoto, it's Benue, it's Taraba. So I think, these are points that we need to actually understand so we can all, speak on it from a place of understanding. Also, to mention that this 30% and 3%, why we're saying that, according to the analysis, we've seen that the 30% might be lesser than the 3% is because they're not from the same source. So, Mr. Abonta, the facts that we have with the PIA is that the 30% going for exploration of oil would be coming from the profit oil and profit gas. And this money is basically the NNPC's share of the profits of its production sharing contract. This means that this 30% basically is what the NNPC would get after, they have actually gone ahead to distribute what they need to other sources. So that's why it seems like it's going to be a very meager amount. But the 3% really will be coming from the operational expenditure of these oil companies. So when we do the math, it then seems that the 30% going for oil exploration is way lower, going to be about just 60 billion.
Or from 2019.
Yes, from 2019 estimates that we saw, if we're going to go by that, the 30% is going to be about 60 billion for oil exploration, right? While the one for the 3% going to host communities will be about 200 billion. That's right. So that really is the fact. So I'm asking you now, based on this information that we have, once again, do you think that the government should have been able to give the people enough information for them to have, the power? Of course, information is power, to know that it's not exactly as they see it, but the fact that, the information needed to be put out there. Mr. Abonta.
Yes, the argument is very persuasive, but it's lame. It's not thorough. Let me begin to analyze issues. Okay. If what you are saying now is correct, why didn't they put it in public domain? Why didn't they educate people? Why didn't they campaign on this? Why didn't they make it thorough? But let me also tell you, you now also say that the frontier will not dispense cash to anybody. It's a joke. I know how budgets are being spent in Nigeria. Now, who is going to handle the 30%? Who is going to control the frontier? Who is managing the frontier account? Where will it be spent? Even if you don't give people cash in the frontier money, but it is spent in a particular area, in a particular venture, in a particular manner. So that what we're saying is, we do not think numerically, this figure, it doesn't balance, it doesn't tally with us. And why the security? Why the urgency? Why the cut in procedure? What is surrounding the whole security? Why were they not too thorough? So this mathematics now, or arithmetic we are now trying to do, can we further convert it publicly to the understanding of everybody? Now, who is going to manage the frontier? Where would they begin to? And let me also ask you, Must you put more emphasis in looking for unknown when you've not completed the known?
Okay, Mr. Bonta, on the back of that, I need to ask you, right? Oil exploration actually happened, for us to discover, places that there were oil basically in Nigeria. So are you saying that the people of the Niger Delta would not want us to go ahead and explore other parts of Nigeria where there might be oil for our greater good?
No. They should. We must continue to exploit for oil, but emphasis should be given to what you have. People will always say that a plate of goat head on their table is better and preferred than the goat in the bush. You are not sure of where it is. I'm not saying they shouldn't process oil. We must keep looking for oil, but not at the detriment of the wealth we have already found. What we're saying is that there should be a fairer treatment of the oil producing already. There should be a fairer treatment of it, so that where we're also prospecting, we'll also have faith that they also get good treatment when oil is eventually found. We should uncover all the oil. We should prospect for oil because oil appears to be our mainstay of our economy. Therefore, anything that will increase availability of oil, we support.
All right. Mr. Abonta, I want us to move away from the bill now and then look really closer at still taking off thoughts from the 3%. There still is, the 13% derivation fund that is sent to the Niger Delta, to oil-producing states. Aside that, there's 3% that gets to the NDDC. That also is for the Niger Delta. If you're adding another 3% now from the Petroleum Industry Act, that sounds like it's a lot of funds that are being directed to the Niger Delta and oil-producing states. Do you think that over time, the state governments have done well enough, and that includes the NDDC, have done well enough in helping the Niger Delta and oil-producing states to be better with the amount of money that has been budgeted and has been accrued to them in the last couple of decades?
Yeah, the problem with Niger Delta and NDDC is a different kettle of fish entirely. Actually, money has been pumped into NDDC, but you can see a whole lot of mismanagement, and even right now going on. If these monies are properly managed and harnessed, if the communities and the host communities are also involved directly, it will give a greater advantage. But in all sincerity, a lot of money has been produced or pumped into Niger Delta areas.
Yeah, but why I'm asking this is because I don't see agitation from the Niger Delta youths and from these, bodies here and there in the Niger Delta, and of course, including in Abia State. I don't see agitation concerning, the 3% that gets to the NDDC and the 13% derivation fund and the failure of the government at the state level to utilize these funds well enough. There are pictures of that were released a couple of days ago of Araria Market in Abia State, where you're from, that showed a very, very sad picture of what that market is and the roads there. So why isn't there, that much attention focused on the state governments and their own failures?
Yes, the next question is, are state governments allowed a free hand in NDDC? No. No, the answer is no. But therefore, I should think that we should go back to drawing table to redirect and reorder the expenditure pattern in NDDC. Because what we have now is huge fraud. What we have now is beautiful. Much like this quality going on. So we should still go back and destroy it. Otherwise, the people, the masses, will continue losing.
Yeah, but you're a House of Reps member for Abia State.
Yes.
So who would you say needs to be saying these things, or who would you say that this attention needs to be focused on?
Sorry? Come back.
I'm saying you are a part of the government in Abia State. So who would you say that the attention needs to be focused on?
Oh, well, the NDDC board and the management, and then should be redesigned. and make it in a way that is difficult to spend money without a proper analysis, without a proper consultation, without a proper study? Who does the budget of NDDC? The states are not involved. The committees are not involved. Somebody sits down somewhere, draw a budget that, can you imagine in the NDDC budget doing water hydrant in an area where there's no water? So is it mountain hydrant or desert hydrant that we do? You see funny things. So the communities ought to be involved. I mean, the oil producing communities, don't force on them what is not desired.
So, Mr. Abonta, really, when we have the facts, on the table, let's say the government comes out to begin to enlighten people on, what these 3% versus 30% represents, do you think that the people of the Niger Delta will have any more grievance?
Well, if you completely teach them or make them understand to their satisfaction, why will not? They will not. Secondly, my own view is, why we take the 3%, we keep arguing for more. It's like I said, the act is now a beginning of better things to come. At least we'll move forward from where we were. So, while we experiment, the law is not cast on iron. So we can always begin to ask for amendments as we begin to practice it, as we begin to see the fallout. If they will be sincere. Now, a steering committee is being put in place. How are you involving the host communities in the steering committee? How are you sure that proper representation is being made? So it won't be as business as usual.
So
I'm also being told that that a proposal for Ministry of Niger Delta to manage the host community money. That will be the beginning of April.
So do you think the challenge here really would be about implementation? That's if the 3% would actually be, begin to go to host communities and all the promises of the PIA be realized?
So I didn't get that.
I'm asking now that, do you think the challenge of the PIA will be about the implementation?
Will be an extension of what?
Will be the implementation of the PIA.
Yeah, implementation will be a problem. Yes. Yes, I hear about implementation. There should be a solid, well thought out, planned out implementation of it. That is the only way people will also enjoy the act. For example, if the host community money is not well managed, the masses will still suffer. Therefore, there should be a sound management of the 3%. There should also be a sound management of the act itself. Several commissions are being set up under the act to manage the several sectors of it. That they must be credible people, not the replica of NMPC or replica of NGVC. So implementation must be carefully done.
Yeah. Mr. Abonta, quickly also share with us what figure you think would have been better. If we're going to move up from 3%, where do you think, or what percentage do you think would have been a lot better or more comfortable for the Niger Delta?
I didn't get that.
I'm asking, if we were going to move away from 3% and you want to take it higher, what percentage of funds do you think would have, sat right with the Niger Delta?
Well, I'm of the House of Representatives. We proposed, we passed 5%. The senators passed 3%. And the Speaker, in one of his utterances, asked us to harmonize and take the part of reps. And coming by representation, the reps represent more. So their version ought to have been correct, because they truly represent the people. So how it came procedurally that the Senate version became the order of the day is what some of us don't understand. Given the injunction given by Speaker that the Commission Committee should adopt the House version.
All right, Mr. Bonta, I also want us to address the issue of the Niger Delta youth and the seeming violence, how it seems that they take to violence really when they want to, just talk about their grievances. For example, they have threatened to destroy all installations. This is nothing new. We've heard and seen this time and time again. How would you advise youth in the Niger Delta to better, talk about what really bothers them without, going to or taking other violent means like burning all installations, vandalizing pipelines and all of that?
No, violence and destruction of oil production may not be the best approach. I will advise against that. We must continue to negotiate and bargain. Violence will set us back. Violence and destruction of oil production will also require more funds to set up again. No, I do not think it's the best option. I should think that superior agreement considered will begin to negotiate and bargain and lobby and negotiate and lobby. That's what I think. I don't think violence will be the best approach now. I know they are hurting, I know they are grieved, but I will beg for a little time for us to begin to study the act properly and the implementation of the act properly and see whether there will be a departure from what used to be. So I will beg them to allow some time and give the government a little time to look at issues and rethink and then implement the act. Let us see. A few period of a year or two, implementation will tell us the deficit or advantage or whatever in it. Then one will be better positioned to say this is this or this wasn't this.
All right. Mr. Bonta, you mentioned 5%, when I was asking what percentage you felt would be better. Just a random question. The 5% is still smaller than 30%. So why do you think that would have reduced the agitation?
Now, 5% was what they grudgingly agreed to do. I mean, the House of Representatives haven't seen all the indications. So, okay, let us start from that, a certain point. If you look at the paper, it was 7.5 initially. If you look at the draft paper, the House made 7.5. You see, until after the agreement and consultations, it came to 5%. And then Senate sustained it further. We are not saying 5% is ideal, but it's the barest minimum the House deemed fit. Then, having considered all, having done their own mathematics. So this mathematics now by the government is supposed to be made public to us. Having used our own mathematics and all methodology, we're able to arrive at 5%, but not the 7.5 contained in our book.
Yeah, okay. So Mr. Uzoma Nkemabonta, so now let's get a clearer picture. When there were these mathematical calculations, do you have an idea, a rough estimate of what the amount of money may have been getting to these oil producing communities, if 5% had been approved, or 7.5%?
I do not have the amount or the figure that will go to the community. But when you're talking about communities, it ranges to every oil well that is in a community, not to one community.
Yeah.
But it runs to some millions of naira, runs to millions of naira, not one community. And then, if you look at the definition of host community, you understand. The definition of host community, again, is not defined, not clear. Wherever the pipeline passes, it's host community. So, that one is not yet. So, if you are taking pipeline now to Ghana, those areas that get to Ghana is host community. So, you look at the definition of host community again, before you begin to look at the amount, you will see it's powerful.
Okay. Mr. Uzoma Nkemabonta, House of Reps, Abia State, we thank you very much for joining us on The Breakfast this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a break here. I will be right back. Stay with us.
This Medan has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
We now start hearing the shoot of guns.
Whatever I've done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
There is no drawing the line. The cancel culture is wrong. Call out is better.
General public perceives it as His Excellency, Her Excellency. What have you done that is excellent?
Yes. We've been so battered over the years that we've lost our sense of demanding for our rights.
Where you see young girls come out to say, I was raped, there's this attack, this silent attack. Some people would like to keep quiet, but you hear some people come out to say, are you sure?
Did you ask yourself, on the average, how many people will come to this place? Did you ask yourself, when they get there, what is the process for accreditation? You're trying to give money to what? 5,000 people, 200,000 people? You don't even know.
These guys are going to pilfer these funds and justify it with this fruitless exercise. It's very annoying to see that even despite all the criticism for this conditional cash transfer, schemes, Nigeria has continued to do worse, on the poverty index.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation, as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Great to have you back here on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. The conversation continues, and that is with the Niger Delta opposition to the Petroleum Industry Act. We're now joined by Mujahid Asari Dokubo, a former leader of the Movement for the Emancipation of the Niger Delta, MEND. Mr. Dokubo, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you on The Breakfast once again. We just got off, a conversation with a House of Reps member from Abia State, and he shared his views with regards to the agitation against the Petroleum Industry Act. But would first of all like to get yours, and understand clearly where you stand with regards to the act. Do you also think that it is an unfair act that was signed and the president shouldn't have given assent to it?
The Petroleum Act it's not different from the Jim Crow's laws in the southern part of the United States of America, leading up to the civil rights struggle, or the apartheid law in former South Africa or Rhodesia, and the discriminatory laws in Myanmar, discriminating against the Rohingya Muslims, and the Zionist laws in apartheid Israel.
Okay, can you explain further? Why do you describe it that way?
There has never been any law that has been so cruel and wicked, so vindictive like this law. In every federation, except this abnormal contraption called Nigeria, what you have is a semi-autonomous region coming together as the building block of the nation. They have almost absolute control over their resources and other areas of law, making laws for themselves, and so on. And what we have in the 1960 and 1963 Constitution is very clear. We have the exclusive list, we have the residual list, and we have the concurrent list. These are areas of legislation. Now, after the 1967 coup, we now had a unitary system of government masquerading as a federal government. But at no time had any government gone far as totally excluding the rights of the people to their resources as this dictatorial government had done. Because, it's very clear, you allow Zamfara and other northern states to have exclusive access to the resources beneath the soil of their state, while you deny the people of the oil-bearing states in the southeast and south-south and southwest from having not exclusive right, but you totally confiscate this right from them and now investing in a unitary government in Abuja. These laws, I don't think there is any part of the world that there are such laws. Even in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf states, which are monarchies.
Okay, Mr. Asari, I want you to give me specific parts of the PIA that you disagree with.
I don't from the highlight of what I have read in the papers, because it's so annoying that anybody can go and read that piece of cheap legislation. From what I have seen, 3% is given to oil-bearing communities, 30% is given to look for oil, 30% of the resources of other people is given
Mr.
to
Dokubo, 30%,
search for oil
Mr.
in the
Dokubo,
north.
could you tell me 30% of what and 3% of what? If you can be very specific with me, please.
3%. When journalists ask questions, you already know about it. So you're asking, we're not in a class. We're not in a lecture class. You know that 3% was assigned to oil-bearing communities.
I mean, 3% of what? That's the question, really.
3% of total proceeds from oil is committed to oil-bearing communities. Now, these oil-bearing communities have now been further expanded and defined as anywhere where oil pipeline pass through. The people of Abonima did not have Buhari and his cohort to build pipeline through Gombe State or build pipeline through Lagos State. It is they who build pipeline through Lagos State. They cannot now take the resources of Abonima and give to Gombe and Lagos State.
Okay, Mr. Dokubo, yes. Actually, when we look through the PIA, we discover some things that actually challenge the information we thought we knew about the PIA. So unlike what you believe, that the 3% is 3% of, money that, profits, according to how you described it, it's actually 3% of operational expenditure that will be going to the oil communities, the host communities in the Niger Delta. And that the 30% is actually coming from the profit oil and profit gas of the NNPC. So I've been asking you 3% of what exactly, because I wanted to find out if you know that there's actually a difference in the source of the funds, in the source of the 3% and the source of the 30%. So the funds are not exactly the same thing because their sources are different. So when we break down the 3% and 30%, based on statistics we have from 2019, we find that the 3% in actual fact would give you actually much more money because it's from the operational expenditure of the NNPC, which should be about 200 billion naira, with 2019 estimates. And that the 30% of profit oil, profit gas would give you about just 60 billion from 2019 estimates. So I want us to be clear that the source of the 3% and 30% is not the same pool. So I don't know what you have to say about that, and if that challenges how you see the PIA.
My dear, let people not insult our sensibility. The money did not fall from heaven.
Sorry?
The resources, the money accruing to an NPC did not fall from heaven. It is extracted from somewhere. It is a proceed from the extraction from Abodima, from Soku, from Brass that account for 60 billion or whatever to carry out exploration and search for new oil deposits.
Yeah,
it did not fall. An NPC does not have any kobo. An NPC does not have any money anywhere. It is from the soil of these places that this money comes from.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Mr. 200 billion. Yes.
Exactly what you said, the NNPC doesn't have any money anywhere. I mean, the news is obvious that the NNPC really is not profitable. So if the 30% is coming from profit oil, profit gas, and we already know that NNPC is not profitable, from the 2019 estimates, we saw that their funds really, the profit oil, profit gas, accounted for just 0.6% in 2019. So what is going to be 30% of 0.6% if we have the same figures in 2021? So really, what are we saying, Mr. Dokubo?
I don't think that you understand what I'm saying. If you understand what I'm saying, it is very clear that this money comes from a place. This money does not just drop from the sky. It comes from a place. And where it comes from, you cannot legislate without consulting the people of this area. When you want to make laws that affect the people of this dimension, that affect the environment, affect their livelihood, affect their lifestyle, it must go beyond the chambers of the two houses and in Abuja, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The people must be consulted because it is their destiny that you are legislating upon. You cannot sit in Abuja and make a fiat. How many South people are there? Were the people of the region consulted? The people of the oil-bearing communities consulted before these laws will be paid to take their resources, their money, their environment, and go to search for oil elsewhere.
All right, so Mr. Dokubo, you have a challenge with the Nigerian government using funds that is generated from the Niger Delta to search for oil anywhere else in Nigeria.
Yes, I do. It's not different from colonialism. It's not different from England coming here in the guise of colonialism and siphoning our resources, transferring our resources to London. It is not different from Germany going to Namibia, siphoning the resources of Namibia to Berlin. It's the same thing. This is internal colonialism.
Mr. Dokubo, that's different because we're one country. It's not Nigeria to Togo. It's
which country?
One Nigeria.
When did the people meet? Where did the people meet to say they want one Nigeria? Where did we meet anywhere in the history of this country that Nigerians met? Has there been any referendum in Nigeria to say that we are one country? One Nigeria was imposed on us by the British and by military fiat. So it is not different from colonialism.
Mr.
All right,
Dokubo.
Mr. Dokubo, would you have preferred if there was no 30% oil exploration fund, and there was more money added, or more of the funds were directed towards the oil communities in the Niger Delta? Would it have been more palatable to say 20% of operational expenditure should be going to oil communities in the Niger Delta, and 3% maybe to oil exploration?
Have such power. It is immoral. It does not have such right. What we are saying that in 1960, when the British left, they left a federal constitution. They left a federal structure which was dismantled by the military. So this federal structure that they dismantled is what had brought about a very crude and primitive unitary system of government, aided by some people in Abuja, which has aided them immorally to steal the resources of the Gonis, the Shakris, the Jaws, Orobos, and the Igbos.
Mr. Dokubo, lastly, are you aware that the funds we're talking about is not going to the north like is widely believed? It's also for oil exploration in states like Anambra, in Lagos, in Ogun, in Ondo, Ebonyi. So it's not just in the north.
That is, you cannot take resources from Izombe and go to Enugu to go and explore oil. If the federal government wants to, let them sell the concession, the OML, to foreign oil exploration corporation to come and do it.
But Mr. Dokubo, won't you agree that it's this kind of thinking that divides us? This thinking that some would say is not nationalistic.
Why should we not be divided? Why should you take my own and give to another person? And then giving us before? Why should I give to somebody and the person will not give me? Why should somebody tell me that he will use my land to graze his cow? He will use my business. I will always give him, and he will not give me. What sort of unity do you want? Unity of one giving, one slaving for the other. What sort of unity is that?
So, Mr. Dokubo, so does that mean that you are standing with the Niger Delta youths and militant groups who have threatened to cause chaos and destroy oil infrastructure if this PIA stands?
Most of these people are criminals, masquerading and struggling for the region. Iyaradua came and bribed them. They took bribe and forsook our struggle in the name of amnesty. So if they come up to say that they are threatening to do this thing, I don't buy into it. What I believe is that 100% of, except the sellout, for a minister to come out to say what he has said is so appalling that the oil companies will leave. So a minister from the region is serving the interests of multinational oil companies. He's promoting neo-colonialism in his own region against his own people. He's promoting foreign interests against his own people. A minister from the region is so shameful.
Mujahid Asari Dokubo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Always interesting speaking with you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right.
So up next on The Breakfast, we'll be speaking about a 22-year-old lady who has been termed an IPOP spy girl. Do stay with us.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Welcome back to The Breakfast. Now, after spending 66 days in captivity, a 22-year-old girl known as Gloria Okoli basically has, we've heard from the police regarding why she has been in captivity. The Nigerian police force is actually alleging that this Gloria Okoli is an IPOB spy who receives cash, arms and ammunition on behalf of the IPOB because one of her friends is allegedly an IPOB member. We'll be discussing this with Mr. Harrison Gwamishu, founder of Behind Bars Human Rights Foundation. Good morning, Mr. Gwamishu. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Please tell us the facts of this case right now about Gloria, the fact that her parents had been looking for her for a long time. They said they visited hospitals and mortuaries, couldn't find her until, somebody who was released, told them that she had been seen, custody of the police, cooking and cleaning for them. Please give us the facts.
Okay. Gloria was arrested on the 17th of June, 2021, we're at Umutanze in Olo local government area of Imo State. She was arrested alongside others, taken into custody. Then for the family, started looking for her from hospitals to mortuaries. They couldn't find Glory. Then until a man named Izuchukwu Okeke, who was arrested by IRT and detained at Tiger Base, Owerri, the operational base in Owerri, came back and informed them that he saw Glory in detention, that Glory was there and Glory was cooking for the officers because that place is the operational base. So we were sending her errands and she was cooking for them and also doing laundry for them too at the operational base, at Tiger Base, Owerri. Then the family went immediately to look for Glory at the IRT office. And before this, they have been looking for her both police stations and hospitals, and no, they couldn't find her. So getting to the IRT office at Owerri, at Tiger Base, they refused them access to see Gloria. They said they don't even know who Gloria is, that the person they were looking for was not in that office. The family showed them the pictures. They refused. They said they don't know. They have not seen this girl in their custody, and she's not there. Then until the uncle, Christian Okoli, went with a colonel and an army, a soldier, to the base. That was when they could provide the girl. So they called the girl out, and the girl saw them, and they took the girl back to the cell. That was the last time they set their eyes on Glory. Then something then happened. At that point, if an officer gave them number and was now in communication with them and telling them that Gloria will be out, that Gloria was involved with IPOB, that she will be out, but they need to pay some amount of money. So the mother who sells fried yam at Umutanzi was now borrowing money. The uncle sold a motorcycle and able to raise like 300,000, which they sent 200,000, 100,000, 20,000 naira to the account the officer provided, which is sent to the uncle. Gloria was not released to them too. They denied them access to see Gloria. A lawyer came, they denied the lawyer access to see Gloria. Then they went there again to see Gloria. They said Gloria has been transferred to Abuja, that they cannot see Gloria anymore. That was the last time they heard from Glory. From June, July, nobody heard from Glory until somebody now linked them to me and said, that my organization can help them locate where Glory is and what transpired. So we started calling the office, IRT office in Abuja. We spoke to them on the phone. The DCP, Tunji Disu, who is the new IRT boss, we spoke to him about Glory. He assured us that he will investigate, that he just took over office. He will investigate and make sure Glory is granted bail if she's detained at the IRT office, which will still have a record to.
So, Mr. Gwamishu, what are the charges against Gloria? Because I've seen different news reports. One said that she was arrested because they were trying to get her boyfriend, who is an IPOB member. They couldn't get her boyfriend, so they arrested her just to get her boyfriend. And we know that's against the Police Act. The Police Act, basically says that it is wrong for any police officer to arrest someone in place of another. So is that the fact, or is she truly an IPOB girl or an IPOB spy? Also, we're seeing, you know, what we've seen from the police statement that they're still investigating. Also, why do we have cases where rather than have their facts and evidence and come and arrest with those facts, the police go ahead and arrest somebody? She's been in prison for 66 days, and now they're saying that they're still doing investigation. What are your comments on these, please?
Yeah. At the IRT base, Tiger Base Noweri, they told the colonel, the family, that Glory was arrested, was used as a soft target to arrest a man who attended her birthday, who happens to be her friend, her male friend, which they say, which is, they told the family. That was what they told them in Owerri. Not until with the social media, the outcry, public outcry, that's where they now came up with a release. After 71 days, they came up with a press release alleging that Gloria is a spy girl to ESN and IPOB. So there was no statement of this before until the public outcry. They now came up with these charges. And again, we should know that Gloria has been denied access to family members and access to lawyers. Even at the IRT office in Abuja, our lawyers went there to see Glory, and they denied them access to speak to Glory before they now release this press statement they released yesterday, being Sunday morning.
All right.
So at the first time, it was arrest in lieu because they use that as a soft target to arrest somebody. There's no issue about that, because if they're looking for a suspect, they can use somebody to get somebody. That's what they did. But detaining her after getting the suspect is what we don't know. The police have not even explained reason why they arrested Glory. Until yesterday, they released a press statement saying that she's a spy girl to the ESN network.
Mr. Gwamishu, is there any way that these claims can be proven? You know, by your claims by the police that she was arrested as a soft target or that she's a spy for the ESN. Is there any way that these things can be proven? And then also, you know, what are the fears really with, you know, a lot of other people who have been arrested in the Southeast and simply tagged ESN members or ESN associates? Does that also shed light on those possibilities, that there's a lot of innocent people who might be languishing in police cells without, you know, and of course simply just being tagged as ESN members?
Yes, they are. I think last time a young man who worked with an oil company was arrested in Owerri, who came for the in-laws burial and was tagged an IPOB member, unknown gunman, and later he was released after our social media outcry too. So there are many Glory out there who are in detention and tagged members of IPOB. So if Glory committed a crime as alleged by the police, then why not take her to court? All right, because she's innocent until proven guilty by a competent court of jurisdiction, which is the court. So Glory would have been taken to the court, where her charges will be read, and she will either plead guilty or not guilty. But this, for 76 days, they've not taken Glory to court. So at this point now, we should be looking at, that means there are other people too who are in detention. Many of them, not only Glory. Now, the Izuchukwu who informed the family about the whereabouts of Glory, today, nobody knows where Izuchukwu is today. And nobody even talking about Izuchukwu. We're now focused on Glory. I think after Glory, the Izuchukwu's case will also be open to the public too. So there are many Glory who are in detention today, and that is the fact. The issue here is the cells are not open to the public. The Administration of Criminal Justice said that a committee constituted can visit the police stations to see the image and also interview them too. But these things are not being done. There are many Glory in the police custody today, who are tagged IPOB members. And that's the true fact.
So what is the current situation with this case? Are you still in contact with Tunji Disu? And it is also very mind-blowing that police has the resources to move a, in quote, suspect, after keeping the suspect for more than 60 days. They have the resources to move that suspect all the way to Abuja just to ensure that the person is not released. It's just really mind-blowing. So what is the current situation before we go? And are you still in contact with Tunji Disu?
Yeah. As at Friday, Tunji told us to come to the police station they can release her on bail. Then after her release, if she's needed, we can provide her. We agreed to bring somebody who can take her on bail. On Saturday, we went to see them to Tunji. Then Tunji now told us that the case is off from his hand, that the case is now before the first PRO Frank Mba. We started calling Frank Mba to Frank Mba. Till today, he has not been picking our calls. None of them pick our calls, including the Tunji. They don't pick our calls. So at this point now, it's now before the law, which the court, which the lawyers are working to see that something is being done for glory. Which I mean, some things I can't just say it on air here until we do the needful for glory. Not only glory too, but others too. The man who disclosed the whereabouts of glory, who was now detained. The man is an Okada rider, who was never involved in anything. He was raided and arrested and detained. So the lawyers are working to make sure that glory gets out on bail. Then again, too, the police too should also bring up charges against her if they have any.
All right, Iris Ngwamishu, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really wish you had more time, but you know, there's some conversations that are just really, really hard to understand. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And we hope that, you know, she is released as soon as possible or charged to court, and we will be speaking with you again. All right, and that's where we will be wrapping up this morning. Thank you very much for starting our Monday with us. If you missed out on these conversations, so you want to catch up, remember, it's pretty simple. It's at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook and Instagram. Same with our YouTube channel and at PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa.
I am Annetta Felix. Have a great week ahead.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not rouse what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare, Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation, as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, you know, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, you know, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Thanks for joining us on Plus News Brief. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa. The parents of the 15 kidnapped students of Bethel Baptist High School released yesterday have confirmed that ransom was paid. One of the parents whose son was earlier released, Reverend Joseph Hayab, told Plus TV Africa that the parents have been paying money. Reverend Hayab also criticized the way the government and security agencies have been managing kidnappings in Kaduna State. And Bettina Benson, the mother of Kumbowe Benson, secretary to the Bayelsa State government, has regained her freedom after 32 days in captivity. The 80-year-old woman was abducted on July 20 from her residence in Ikeki, Yenagoa, the capital of the state. The Bayelsa Commissioner of Police, Echeng, confirmed her release on Sunday at the residence of the SSG. The commissioner said the pressure from the police resulted in her release. 3 suspects were arrested in connection with the abduction. And commenting on his mother's release, the SSG said a token gift of 4 million naira and 2 Android phones were given to the kidnappers. The SSG also in the attack, and of course on their way to the palace, indicating the bandits came for the district head. The incident comes a week after police mobile officers attached to the area were withdrawn. Still talking security, 3 headers have lost their lives in an attack by yet-to-be-identified persons in Zangon Kataf local government area of Kaduna State. Security agencies believe it is a reprisal to an earlier attack in Unguwando area. 4 other persons were injured and 8 huts were burnt. A search is on for the attackers, and the acting governor of Kaduna State, Hadiza Balarabe, has received the report with sadness, according to a statement released by the government. Still in the news, Benue State is ready to head to court if the federal government insists on creating grazing routes and grazing areas in the state. Governor Samuel Otom has stated that insistence on grazing will amount to a violation of the Land Use Act. He was speaking at the Makurdi Airport on his return from Delta State. He's also calling on President Muhammadu Buhari's aides to advise him properly on land issues so that things would work well in Nigeria. And a major drug dealer wanted for attempting to export 70 kilograms of cocaine, heroin, and cannabis to the United Kingdom has been arrested. Stephen Ikeyonwu was arrested on last Sunday at a church in Ojodu, Lagos, according to a release by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. The NDLEA had earlier seized the drugs at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, arrested the driver that delivered them, and started a manhunt for Ikeyonwu. In another instant, the NDLEA operatives have also arrested a neatly bound passenger, Abibu Miminu, during the outward clearance of passengers on an Ethiopian Airways flight. He had ingested illicit drugs and was made to excrete 68 wraps of heroin in 3 discharges, all weighing 800 grams. A South Africa returnee, Obi Samuel, has also been arrested during the inward clearance of Ethiopian Airlines from Addis Ababa for importing 58 grams of skunk. Other drug busts include interception of 1,760 grams of methamphetamine going to Australia, 1 kilogram of cocaine coming from Ghana with UK as destination, and concealed in 4 local guitars, and in a string of operations in Edo, Ondo, Kaduna, Kano, and Kogi states, at least 2,504.8 kilograms of diverse illicit drugs were seized from multiple suspects in the past week. And also in the news, some investors want the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to prosecute a young man whom they accuse of duping them of hundreds of millions of naira. They marched through the streets of Port Harcourt to draw attention to what they claim is a case of fraudulent forex trading.
What do you want?
And march for their money they did along the streets of Port Harcourt in Rivers State. These people claim they were defrauded by a Port Harcourt-based forex trading company, Caffint Resources. Their protest is to the Office of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
What we want from here is we want justice. We want our money back. So many women have died out of frustration. So many people cannot be able to pay their school fees. Some people invested more than 10 million, some 5 million, some 50 million, some 100 million. Okay. So we are here to tell EFCC that this thing has to stop.
The protesters, who say they invested millions of their savings into the supposed forex business, are demanding the prosecution of the company's chief executive officer.
I invested 2 million. Because he came, the first time that they came, they say it's a forex trade. That when you invest, at the end of the month, that we give you 20% of the amount you invested.
I invested 1.6. I'm feeling so bad about my money because I know how I work. So we are here to beg the EFCC people to help us to regain our money back. Because of that money, I'm supposed to do my wedding. Since because of that money, I cannot continue with the wedding anymore.
We feel so bad that some people are dying. It's because we're being deceived. And we think that federal government ought to do something for all this time. Nothing has been done over a period of about 7 months now.
The state chairman of the Rivers State Civil Society Organization, NFA Georgewell, is warning Nigerians against investing in fraudulent forex businesses.
I want to assure the general public that we are going to make sure we fish out all Ponzi schemes in Rivers State. We are going to make sure that we fish out these criminals who have committed this offense and make sure that the law catches up with him. We want to use this medium to advise Nigerians to be wary of magic banks and Ponzi investments. For crying out loud, profit in double digits is not an easy one.
There has been an increase in the number of fake forex cases, especially in Rivers State.
Still in the news, the National Association of Resident Doctors says it will not sign any memorandum of understanding with the federal government. This is as the association reiterated its stance not to call off the ongoing strike until the federal government attends to its demands. The association's vice president, Arome Adejo, announced this in an interview with newsmen on Saturday. Similarly, president of the NARD, Uilawa Okayesui, said the NARD-NEC has no plans of meeting yet until the federal government does the needful. And the indigenous people of Biafra has assured residents of the southeast that nobody would be harassed today or any other Monday as it follows the suspension of the group's sit-at-home order, earlier announced to call attention to the detention of its leader, Nnamdi Kanu. IPOB spokesman Ima Powerful now says anyone seen disturbing people should be arrested. Everybody in the southeast was initially required to remain indoors every Monday, even if they didn't belong to the IPOB, until Kanu is released. And the signing of the Petroleum Industry Act will not automatically lead to an increase in the pump price of petrol. And that's the assurance from the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA. The agency's Executive Secretary, Abdul Qadir Saidus, wants Nigerians to know that the current price will remain until a negotiation with organized labor. This will enable the development of a feasible framework that minimizes the impact of a market-based pricing policy on citizens. And we'll take a quick break here and return with a news brief on Plus TV Africa.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Welcome back. And now to stories in other parts of Africa. Paul Rusesabagina, the Hotel Rwanda hero turned government critic, has been denied access to the Kigali prison where his client is being held pending the verdict of his trial for terrorism and deported to Belgium. According to Rwandan authorities, Vincent Lorkin was deported and declared persona non grata for violating immigration laws. The Rwanda Bar Association raised a complaint because Lorkin was not accredited to practice in Rwanda. He claims he has not been able to see his client for the past year. And Ugandan officials have confirmed the country will be receiving 145 evacuees from Afghanistan on Sunday. The latest developments came a day after evacuations in Kabul were temporarily halted due to overcrowding at an evacuee receiving center in Qatar. This was stated by Esther Anyakun, Uganda's Deputy Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, who spoke to VOA. Earlier this week, Anyakun said Uganda would accept up to 2,000 Afghan refugees, but other officials said at that time the matter was still under discussion. South African security forces are on high alert amid threats of a national shutdown announced for Monday. At the time, South Africa is still under COVID-19 alert level 3, which requires maximum compliance with health regulations and protocols. 13,261 new infections were reported on Saturday. Moving outside Africa now, the Taliban fired in the air and used batons to make people line up in orderly queues outside Kabul airport. The crowd control measure is coming a day after 7 people were killed in a creation in U.S. history. Trump, a Republican who has dangled the possibility of running again for president in 2024, has repeatedly blamed Biden, a Democrat, for Afghanistan's fall to the Islamist militant Taliban, even though the U.S. withdrawal that triggered the collapse was negotiated by his own administration. And now to business news. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, has directed taxpayers in the country to continue to pay value-added tax to the agency to avoid facing penalties for failing. Both parties are aware of the appeal and stay of execution on the judgment and advise taxpayers to continue to pay value-added tax to the FIRS. Also in the news, the Minister of State for Transport, Senator Gbemishola Saraki, says the role of the maritime sector is strategic in national development of the country. The minister said this at the 2021 Engineering Conference and annual general meeting put together by the Nigerian Society of Engineers Buhari branch in Abuja. And now Nigeria has just had its best under-20 athletics championships, finishing third on the medals table behind host Kenya and Finland. The 4x400 meter mixed relay started the medal haul with gold in a championship record-setting meters in women's.